Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Duzik, a.k.a. Pick Guardian.
Mike Trombley, Red House Electronics.
Jared Brandon Wong Pickups.
Are you selling trucks? What are they?
Everybody has that.
Yeah. Hey, it's me, Todd Novak. Glad you're with us today. And we've got a special guest on the line. Go ahead.
This is Tony from Pedal Genie.
That's right. Tony from Pedal Genie calling from...
I am in Deerfield Beach, Florida.
Yes, over the beautiful thing called Skype. I mean, I don't know how beautiful it is, but it works. Works for us. Thanks, Skype, for making something that works pretty reliably. Everyone, we are excited to be talking about guitars today and guitar gear. I know I am. It's a Friday, and I'm done with this week. Kaput. So let's talk about cool guitar stuff.
Yeah.
I've had a super busy week. I think you guys might have as well.
Yep.
And if you are listening to us right now, and that means you're hearing what we're about to say, Tony has a little message for you.
I do.
Yeah, lean in there, buddy.
I'm leaning in. So here's the deal. If you like what we're doing here on the Guitar Knobs, you can show your support by becoming a patron on patreon.com. And apparently, for less than the cost of a handful of picks or a big honkin' shredder style inch-thick pick,
Jeez,
you can keep this podcast running, and for the cost of a couple of microbrews or a good meal at McDonald's, you can get one of our super cool Guitar Knobs t-shirts as well. You can support our show, of course, at patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs. And we really do appreciate sharing our experience and your continued support.
thank you.
Please be a patron.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. Mike, you look like you have something to say. No, nothing to say.
He's taken back.
Okay.
I'm listening. He wants to read that part.
Yeah, so that was off the paper. So there's our paper. Okay. Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here. I already said that, so let's get going, right? Okay. Guitars and gear is awesome. Let's go. Mike, what happened in your world today? This week, I mean.
All right, so it's going to throw you guys off a little bit, but let's see.
You're getting married.
Yes.
Oh,
no.
Shut up.
No.
I think you just
Shut
met
your
that
mouth.
girl.
Yeah, shut your mouth. So anyways, last month I went to Montana, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Went to Montana last, it was the last month. Anyways, I didn't bring my gear, and I was requested to play. So, I'm like, oh, man, I need some effects, blah, 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 whatever. And my uncle's like, hey, man, I got this thing. It's called the Boss ME50. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, snap, So I set it up, added some...
Says the pedal builder.
Yeah, I know, right? No, but listen to this. So anyways, I set it up, blah, 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 And here I come to get this really sweet distortion on it. Like it just has your classic 80, I don't know, just a classic distortion that really cleans up good.
What is this thing? Explain what this is real quick.
So it's the Boss ME50, which it's a multi-effects processor.
Oh, okay.
But it doesn't have the amp, or I think it actually has an amp head
Modeling
simulation, but it's more built for it's a pedal. It's built as not like, it doesn't have a cab simulator or anything like that. So
you just go up and down on the effects number that you could do
and
presets and all
plug
that
it straight into a a guitar amp.
Right.
And wait, is that the Boss ME? Actually, I have the 25. That's what it is. It's half that.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Less bells and whistles.
I know, less bells and whistles, but that's the way I'd rather prefer it. Anyways, I ended up enjoying the distortion out of this thing so much that...
That's like a phrase where you substituted enjoying this expletive, but you said distortion.
Oh, yeah.
I enjoyed the distortion out of this thing.
It's the Boss ME25.
Right.
And here I ended up enjoying it so much that I ended up going and buying it. It was like $100 or something like that. I know, it's the stupidest purchase ever, but I enjoy it.
No, it's not.
And the only thing I'm using, I'm not using the reverb. I'm not using the delay. I'm not using
just for the distortion, right?
Just for the distortion.
Oh my gosh!
But it also has the the
got a
volume
pedal.
It has a volume pedal on it.
Yeah.
So and then it also has a tuner. So I get those three.
I mean,
pedals.
just even using it just for a tuner and a volume pedal.
3
is
out
a
of the
pretty,
500 things. Right?
pretty good purchase.
And I can still run it with, like some other overdrive pedals, so that like I can add some little sustain to it.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so I ended up purchasing this thing, and I've been using it for the past couple weeks.
Huh.
And so I thought I'd throw it out there, and it's weird because originally when I first started guitar, I had a Boss GT10, and I really enjoyed the distortion I was getting out of it, And here I end up coming to play this thing, and I'm like, that is that distortion.
Oh my goodness.
And so right now it's on my board. And
That's cool. That's kind of fun.
Looks out of place.
Mix it up. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I played lead guitar in a band a while back, in one of the bands I played in, and I had an effects processor only because we did so many different kinds of songs, top 40 stuff. I didn't.
Bounce.
Yeah. I mean, like, who out in the crowd is going to tell if I'm using analog or digital?
Yeah.
So,
Tony will.
Well-
Yeah, and let's make it clear. Sorry for the listeners. We have two Tonys today. So we've got Tony Schreiber on the line from Pedal Genie, and we're going to call him Tony because he's our guest. But
Awesome. Thanks for that.
You're welcome. And the regular Tony, we're going to call Jocko. No, we'll just call him. So his last name is spelled Duzik, but we're going to. I was corrected on his.
The proper pronunciation is Duzik.
Duzik.
Are you serious?
Is that Polish?
That is cool.
Okay.
100% purebred.
All right.
Duzik. Why didn't you tell me that a long time ago?
Anyways,
Sorry.
so Tony, do you have much experience with the Boss 25, the SE25?
I do not. One of my 4 on the floor, however, is going to be a Boss multi-effects unit,
Interesting.
Nice.
but not that one.
Ooh,
I'm going to
sneak
correct
peek.
myself in it. That is the ME25. I just
Right,
said
I knew
S,
what you meant.
but you know.
Right.
So you're entering. So that'll be the first multi-effects thing that you guys would have. Is that correct?
True. The one I'm referring to, I'm going to withhold it for a secret till we get to that segment. But
Yes.
yeah, we don't ship most multi-effects units because they're simply too big for our subscription package boxes.
I see. That's smart. Sure. Yes, Mike.
Yes,
Mike has a question.
Another sweet thing about this multi-effects, this Boss, is I can run it on a 9-volt power supply. So I just run it with my Voodoo Labs pedal power.
It doesn't have like a solar panel in the front, like a little calculator.
You don't need a crazy huge wall.
No, those are the
or-
Digitech ones that require the million milliamps.
So you don't need any kind of adapter or anything. I
It's
just
so
run it like
weird.
a normal pedal. It's really
Yeah,
trippy.
that's really cool. You got to bring that in.
Yeah, I will.
All right. So let's hear from Tony from Pedal Genie.
Well, I bought some pedals, sold some pedals, shipped some pedals.
Yeah.
Didn't have band practice. Frustrating.
That's always, isn't that a letdown when I look forward to that personally. You know, I know not everybody does, but I do. So when it doesn't happen, if somebody cancels, it's like, oh man, Christmas is postponed a week. Come on.
I pretty much feel that way.
Yeah.
You know, I enjoy band practice. I can't say anything of note in particular this week. It was one like most others.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the pedals may have changed, but they came in and out as usual.
Cool. Business is good.
Yeah, still growing. We are approaching our 4th year in business.
Okay.
You know, membership is climbing steadily.
Excellent.
Not as steep as I would like, but definitely steady.
So let's help that out right now and tell everybody just briefly exactly what Pedal Genie is. We don't have to get into it deep because that's what the interview is going to cover. But why don't you give us just an overview real quick?
For sure. Pedal Genie is basically Netflix for guitar pedals, at least the old DVD style kind where you built a queue of the thing you wanted. We call it a wish list, and we send you a pedal from your wish list. You play for it as long as you want, month, day, week, year. When you're done with it, you send it back. If you like it, you can keep it and buy it for a great price. But once you send it back, we send you another, and we do that ad infinitum until you're done.
Nice.
So we have we just passed 2,000 pedals available from 135 manufacturers.
Wow. That's a pretty big offering. To be able to have access to all of that is pretty amazing. I'm coming up on my second pedal. I have the Saucy Overdrive.
Way Huge Saucy Box?
Yeah, the Way Huge Saucy. And last week I had the Woodcutter, which was pretty wicked. So yeah, it's cool. It's kind of like, I just get to go put in all the things that I want, and they're going to be coming at me.
Nice.
So yeah.
That was you. I picked that out for you.
Oh, thank you. All right. Well, that's cool. Keeping it alive, keeping it going. Jared, what is going on?
Big excitement for me. Sunday.
Hey.
I was in Michigan for a family reunion. But let's go back like 6 years. Okay. I loaned.
Wait, okay, hold on.
No. You just gotta let me.
All right.
Let me do it. So I loaned a cousin of mine 6 years ago, an Electra LPC, I think it is, or
MPC.
MPC. It's
Looks like
the
a Les
lower
Paul.
model. It's not the neck through. It doesn't have the effects stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's a different one than that. It's a bolt-on neck, but it's black. It's like a copy of the Black Custom, and I think it's like a 77 through 81 with the kind of the wave headstock, and I just love that guitar. It's the first full-size guitar that I've ever had. I got it like Christmas in 1992 or 1991, I think, or maybe even 1990. I don't know. But I loaned it to a cousin of mine. It's like a second cousin removed. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, this kid is a fantastic guitar player. You're welcome, Ian. I even forgot his name, but the kid is a great guitar player now. And I loaned him this guitar. Yep, so I could, watch him grow and see what he does with it. And he gave it back to me. He's like, "Hey man, I don't use this anymore. It's been in the closet for a couple of years." I play Strats. That's basically what I play.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so anyway, I got my guitar back, and it's kind of been my go-to for the last 3 or 4 days. Just plugging it in and just letting her rip instead of my, 56 to 59 conversion or my, USA made Les Pauls or anything like that. This guitar, I like it. It's a little slimmer than the normal size Les Pauls. It still has some weight to it, but I really like the way the neck
does
plays.
weigh a lot.
This is a MPC, the one with the built-in
No.
effects modules?
No,
It's the model. Well, on the truss rod cover it says SLM.
that's it.
But that's for St. Louis Music. That's St. Louis Music imported those.
That's why we have Duzik. I'm just saying Duzik. Forget it. I'm saying
You
Duzik.
say Duzik.
Thanks.
Everyone else does. Duzik.
Duzik.
If you want to say it right, that's all I'm
Duzik.
Yo,
saying.
Duzik.
Okay.
But what you're Tony? Yes, that's me. No,
It
that's
is
me.
it's sandwiched.
No, that's
when
me. Raising hand, that's me.
right.
It is a two-piece body. It's sandwiched.
Yeah.
I could see the split, in the middle of the. I don't care what it's.
No, it's cool. And,
It could be a loose
and you
sight.
said you've got you put an early version of your pickups in that. Is
Yeah,
that
I wound one. That's when I was maybe 2 years in.
Yeah.
So I took the original ones out and I just rewound the bobbins because they're actually really cool. Mm-hmm. And the pickups are original to the guitar, but I did rewind them. So they sound great. The pickups still sound great. And
So Electra also made, I think, Tony, what you were referring to were the MPC models that had the little modules that you plopped into the
cartridges.
back.
Yeah.
Little cartridges.
Correct. Yes.
we
the
talked about-
modular powered circuit.
Thus MPC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something you need to get onto Pedal
Yeah,
Genie.
did people can people mod those and make aftermarket models?
What in blazes are you talking about?
I can't talk.
Not that I know of.
No, there's enough of the original ones out there.
Not really. There's some of the. I mean, everybody has like the distortion ones and the phaser. I think those were the base ones.
The other ones, people just don't care about that.
Well, they're hard to find.
Right.
Some of them are really hard to find.
Yeah. We talked about we did a what you call it, a pawn shop run. We got a couple pawn shops right by us, and I kind of fell in love with this bass. It was the Outlaw. X610. So cool, man. And it was 100% 1977, like.
Yeah, they came out with that.
77, 79, something like that. Just wicked cool. Had a bunch of switches and stuff. It looked like something like maybe like almost borderline Entwistle-y, but way tamed. It was just really cool looking.
That was a band that they were sponsoring.
That is a weird-looking instrument.
It is.
What were they asking for that?
Oh, he was asking, I think, $700 for it, and I was like, he didn't even know if it worked. And I was on Reverb at the time. There was one for about $700 that was in immaculate condition. I'm like, this is from a pawn shop. He doesn't even know if it works. Good luck getting those little module things to work, I suppose. Maybe Mike could do that, but he also asks above retail for everything in there, so it's kind of crazy. But I really wanted that thing. Tony.
Yes, sir.
Nope, me.
Not wrong, Tony. Doggone it. This is going to be such a hassle.
Stifle yourself. I am in the middle of doing some revamping on the social media side for Pick Guardian, along with my nephew, who is really helping things out a little bit. So it's pretty good. It's coming a long way. We're trying some things on Facebook and selling some items on Facebook, which I hadn't done before. And so I'm kind of curious to see how that will work. But that's been it. I mean, in addition to obviously chopping up plastic and doing that, and then jumping off that and doing some more.
Right. And for reference, chopping up plastic for custom pick guards and accessories.
Yes, you could say that.
Jared has a question. He raised his hand.
Yeah, I mean, not only Facebook, but Instagram,
Facebook, even Twitter.
So we have a little bit of work to do. I have some suggestions for you that I think can help out.
All right.
I wanted to say something too that I forgot to say.
Yeah, please do.
During my of the week
Reign of Terror
thing. Oh. So I got new T-shirts. They are black with the white lettering and design, and my friend Todd here with his creativity talent kind of redesigned it, revamped it a little bit. I think it looks great. He put his touch on it. Yeah, I really like them compared to the other ones. Anyway, they're great T-shirts. We'll have a picture of it on the Guitar Knob site. But Guitar Knobs, guys and gals, if you want to receive a free T-shirt, order a set of pickups from my website. It must be a pickup, not like a little pickup cover or something small, but
a set
of pickups. You just mention the Guitar Knobs, and the first 5 that do that, I'll throw in a free T-shirt.
At BrandonWoundPickups.com.
That's right. Jared at BrandonWoundPickups.com is my email. If you have any questions about pickups, and BrandonWoundPickups.com.
There you go.
Nice.
Well done. All right. Everybody's made the rounds. Now it's my turn. And I have in my little hands, well, my hands aren't little, but the pedal is. I have been looking for a tremolo. I was actually going to build one that I had a really good idea for. It was mostly because it was the idea. Then I was like, oh, that should be a tremolo. Oh, I guess I'll make that. I'll make that. But then I realized I'm running out of board space, as was noted in our last episode. And I saw something at the local musical round called the Trelicopter from Moore. And this has got really good ratings out there. It's a little micro-sized pedal. And it has a depth knob and a bias knob. and a speed knob, and it's a little tiny black pedal, and it works. It does tremolo.
That is
Pretty reliably.
Put that in your pocket, bro.
You can.
What's the bias do?
The bias just is kind of like a little bit of a filter. I'm not an electronic technical expert, but I know it colors the signal.
Okay.
Like I should say that.
Like,
Tony, would you care to comment on that at all?
I've gotten a little annoyed at some of the mini pedals with side jacks because once you jack them up, they take almost the same space as a regular width pedal with top jacks. But that particular mooer is a good tremolo, good example of a tremolo.
Yeah, for sure.
I queued up some of my favorite tremolos while you were talking, but yeah.
Yeah, Mike makes a really nice tremolo from Red House.
I have one.
Jared has one of those. I don't use tremolo enough, and that was kind of what I was fighting with. I was like, if I make one, or if I buy a well done tremolo like Mike does, or any of the other great builders out there, I'm using a full size pedal space on my board for something that I use for like maybe 2 songs.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to do it, and I had credit at the store, so I was like, this is perfect. I'll just do this.
Nice.
Yeah.
The mooer, whatever is that?
Yeah.
What it is? They also make They also make like an octave pedal that I heard compares to the Electro-Harmonix Pog stuff.
Oh yeah.
And my friend actually. Oh gosh, you'd have to pull it up. But it's like I think it's purple. It's a purple.
They
color.
make a lot of
But
pedals.
it has this sub octave, and then it has octave up.
Right. So it's like a sub and up.
Then pretty much a sub and up, but it has the mooer package.
Right.
And it does the polyphonic, so you can do chords with it.
Wow.
So, really sweet.
This
I'll have to check that
Trelicopter
out.
scene's of pretty good quality.
Yeah. I'm happy with it so far,
It's good.
And the thing is, it's not a pedal that I had to sacrifice for. They're relatively, you can get them used pretty
$20.
No, more than that. I mean, it was about $50, I think. $49.99. But yeah, I dig it. It's cool. It works. And if I end up using tremolo more or want it in different ways, I know where to go to from Mike or other various builders.
Like go to Pedal Genie to go.
I would definitely check out a couple from that.
The only one I can think of that's smaller that would save you more space is the Henrietta Crimson.
Oh yeah, okay.
But it's only smaller because it doesn't have any knobs. So you set everything on the inside and then just turn it on and off when you want. So it's
that's definitely one of those. We have one song that uses it kind of thing. I do wish that I almost wish that this was not a regular switch, but actually a momentary switch, because that's kind of how I use it.
That can be done.
I know Mike has one that's got a momentary
And
switch
it's
on it,
great.
but it also it does a million other things that I don't need it to do. So, anyways, oh man, it's that time.
1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor.
Okay, Tony, you're up. 4 on the floor. Hit it.
All right. Well, my first is very easy. It came to mind immediately, and that is the Empress compressor.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost always on my board, and it's always on my board. As you can guess, I kind of have a board that's very fluid, but the Empress is pretty much there all the time. I brought home quite a few compressors, including the Origin Cali 76 Compact Deluxe and Compact Bass, which were probably my second choice. Also the Dark Glass Super Symmetry, and a couple other things, but the Empress won out. It's got the most knobs, always a plus. But the 2 biggest features, well, 3. Super low noise, probably quieter than even the Origin, while having more gain on tap to lift when it needed to. It's got an LED display that shows you the input level, the signal being compressed, and they cross over in the middle with a different color. So it's really useful in trying to figure out, or to help you dial in the compression. Or at times when I'm really crushing it, I can see why. It also has a sidechain jack which I thought was fantastic. The only thing that came close to that was the Cali 76 compact bass that has a built-in high-pass filter, but
that's cool.
but the side chain makes it really, really flexible. I put a 7-band EQ pedal in the side chain, and I use that to crush the bottom end and leave the high end a little open. That way my bass fills at the end of a verse kind of pop out a little more than they would otherwise.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it might be worth mentioning that you're gonna be going through pedals that pertain to your bass because that's what you play.
Correct.
Right.
I would still keep the Empress. The Empress isn't strictly a bass compressor, unlike the Dark Glass or even the compact bass from Origin. But I would totally keep the Empress on my guitar board as well.
Awesome.
For all the above named reasons.
Cool. That was a great description too. Thanks, man.
Thanks. Well, I'm one of those guys that kind of like, well, if I'm gonna stick, I'm gonna do my research.
Yeah.
And
well,
that
you're
was
in
pretty
good
much
company.
All right.
All right. What you got?
All right. Number 2 is my Jam Man Stereo XT looper. I had a really specific need for a looper that would also play one-shot samples. So in the sense, a looper that didn't loop, that just played once and stopped. In fact, for all the uses of the looper that I do, looping is the least of them. So number 1 is playing one-shot samples in my band. It's for things like intros to songs and some, like vocal snippet in a breakdown or some sound effects that we might use in the song here or there. But it's one of the few loopers that does one-shots. So that was one of the reasons.
It sounds almost like a trigger.
Yeah, it pretty much is. At least that's how I use it. Yeah. Then my second use for it is moving it to the front of my chain so I can play a lick in it and then just loop that back when I'm testing pedals. When I'm dialing a compression setting or trying to dial in a fuzz or something, because trying to play and twiddle knobs can be frustrating.
Yeah. I think it's worth mentioning, people out there who may be wondering, do I really need a looper? I don't know if I need a looper. I'm not playing coffee houses by myself where I'm trying to do 7 things at one time, yada, yada, yada. But honestly, if you're just trying to dial in sound on your band or you're experimenting with pedals, that is an excellent way to use a looper.
Yeah, it was invaluable with the compressor because I'm trying to dial in a sound, but this way I could have a repeatable dynamics that I was then adjusting the compressor for. So extremely useful in that regard. Mm-hmm. And then thirdly, I keep a series of drum loops on there that I practice against. So I use my looper for everything except looping, really.
Wow. That's awesome. It's cool to hear how you're using pedals in ways that may or may not be intended, but at least are very interesting.
Do you use the memory card on it?
The storage on board the Jam Man is enough for me right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it has a mini SD card in it if I needed more space. But right now I'm only using a fraction of the 200 slots in the memory therein.
Jeez. That's a whole lot of memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. So thirdly is a pedal that isn't on my board right now, but it remains one of my favorite distortions since I started playing with pedals. And that is the Bogner Burnley. It's it's not a high gain distortion. It's, I guess, somewhere between a mid and a high gain. It just has a great tone to it. It's clean, if I can say that about a distortion. It's very not noisy, and I guess that's the Neve Transformer Bogner magic. And it just has a great kind of warmth to it. I'm throwing out all the buzzwords that I can think of, but that pedal just fits in those in that. It just fits those words. And I love the there's a jewel, the light that illuminates has some varying intensity and colors as you start to throw signal into it. So it's nice to watch too when you're playing with it.
That's cool.
But it's a great sounding distortion.
I like when people take a little bit of creativity with the lights or just different types of lights. Like Daisitronics is kind of known for their and actually I think Petty John too, known for their the big jeweled lamps on them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are kind of cool. Just tweaking with stuff.
Yeah.
Like that from the people up top. What you got for number 4?
Number 4 has become the centerpiece of my pedal board, and that is the Boss MS3 multi-effects switcher. This is a unit with a built-in 3-looper switcher, as well as a myriad of multi-effects, along with control outputs, expression inputs, and MIDI outs. I fell in love at first sight. As we were talking about the Boss MEs earlier and your love of the distortion in that unit, the dirt effects in this box are awesome. And a lot of people think that's sacrilege, but whatever. It sounds great. My favorite thing to do right now is dial up a really nasty fuzz and use the expression pedal to fade the fuzz in kind of as the song progresses, or, you know, from verse to chorus or something like that. So I'm really, really digging that.
You said this is the MS3?
MS3, yes.
Okay. So that's the one that is, it looks like a switcher station.
Yes.
Previously, when we would see multi-effects pedals, they almost looked like toys. Funky.
Yeah, if you can go back to the MEs of the Boss and even the Digitech multis, they're plasticky, they're giant buttons. Yeah, they look like my first pedal board.
Right, but this looks like what pros who are touring have in the front of their pedal board. That looks like a really wicked setup that is durable and well built and well thought out.
It is the Boss ES5 and ES8, which are their dedicated looper switchers with MIDI, have done really well. And we had a meeting here with Boss not too long ago, and we were talking about the MS3. It had just come out, and I'm like, when are they coming? When are they coming? When are they coming? Because I wanted one. And their reason for bringing it into existence was they wanted to make sure that they got Boss onto as many pedal boards as possible. Even if people weren't using Boss effects, they wanted a Boss product on the board. And I've seen this MS3 kind of, do that. Oh, here's my Analog Man King of Tone and my Klon clone and my whatever drive pedal, but they're all looped into an MS3 now.
Right.
And that's really appealed to a lot of people.
That's cool.
Like it has to me. So, for reasons that we haven't quite covered yet, I kind of come from a MIDI synth sampler background. So anything that has MIDI in it, I'm automatically attracted to. I use the MIDI on the MS3 to save presets on my 2 source audio pedals. So I'm always kind of patching things and running things together. So I can't say enough good things about the MS3 right now. It does have some limitations, but I haven't really bumped into any of them personally yet.
It doesn't sound like it does. I mean, I'm looking at the list, and it's so it's got. Let me just read what is the official description. Multi-effects processor and loop switcher for electric guitar and bass with 112 built-in effects, 3 external pedal loops, MIDI interface, tuner, noise suppressor, and global EQ. I mean, cripes. That's like an RV.
Everything.
On a
you forgot the expression or control extra foot switch inputs, as well as the control outs for like amp switching or something else. That too.
Holy mackerel! Wow. So those are running about what, like $400, something like that?
$399.
$399. 99.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, like with one of the control outs, I run a cable from the MS3 to my Jam Man to the foot switch input, and I use the buttons on the MS3 to bank up and down patches on the Jam Man.
Wow.
And then I can use the expression pedal input that goes into the MS3 to control effects over MIDI attributes or parameters on the source audio stuff, like filter sweeps or whatever. Yeah, it was the missing link and gave me everything I needed. So now I have to build another pedal board with the stuff that I took off.
Interesting. I'm going to sound like a complete doofus here, but you said it was a missing link, and I was like, well, it sounds like the most advanced being ever. not the actual missing link, like Neanderthal.
Well,
anyways, I'm a moron. I'm sorry.
The missing link in the sense that it ties everything I wanted together.
Yes.
How about that?
Exactly. Well, it certainly sounds like it does it. Cool, man. That's quite a board. Holy moly. You were making that stuff work hard. especially for bass. That's really impressive.
Yeah, I admit I sometimes feel a little bit of, I don't know, here comes bass player with this giant pedal board, and I'm like, whatever, man. It's my job.
Yeah,
so.
right. Just out of curiosity, what do you have those attached to?
They currently live on a custom Pedal Genie Purple Voodoo Labs Dingbat Medium.
Wow, that's a lot to say.
It's a mouthful.
The Dingbat boards from Voodoo are pretty awesome. We have a Pedal Genie Purple one coming, but I had the demo of the prototype unit, and I'm like, why am I not using this? So I started using this, and I ran out of space on my Pedal Train Junior when I got the MS3. Everything just wasn't going to fit, so
right.
I had to bump up.
What do you like most about the Dingbat?
I like the spacing of the holes in the rails. The slots seem to end up in the right place where I needed them most of the time. The angle is pretty good. There's enough space on the side underneath. I put like a patch panel in it, so there's enough room for that. The power supply mounting is built in, basically, so that's useful. It's a little heavier than I'd like, but it's this pretty thick aluminum, so I can't complain too much.
It looks like even the smaller ones have room for mounting your power underneath, which is kind of nice.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they come in a really nice bag, although I do have a dig against the bag in that it doesn't have an outer or even inner pocket, which
for cables
so
and stuff.
I got to throw my power cable and instrument cable and stuff like underneath, but it's okay. I can live with that.
That's cool.
What's your main bass rig?
My number one is a Fender Aerodyne jazz bass.
Oh yeah, those are nice.
I kind of wish I stumbled upon it earlier in my adventures, but I love it. It's pretty much got everything I want. I love the jazz bass feel, but I would like a lighter instrument. And the Aerodyne is nice and thin-bodied, thin wings. It's been my number. Plus, it's got. I love painted headstocks. It's a small thing, but I'm immediately attracted to an instrument with a painted headstock. Body color matching headstock. I'm all over that. So. Aerodyne, I am torn right now between using a Quilter Bass Block 800. I also have a Mesa Subway 800, but kind of my main head is a Bugera Veyron, which has all the things I need. I'm not too much of an amp snob or anything like that. I really don't care. I've just been trying to figure out what gets loud enough without distorting and gives me the features I need, like a direct out or some of the EQs that I like. The Quilter has a really simple EQ, like a contour and a deep, and they actually dial in exactly what I want, which is kind of cool. But the direct out is only post. So if I want to play at night, I have to disconnect my cab. Whereas on the Veyron or the Subway, the direct out is pre or post, so I don't have to do that.
Nice.
And my main cab is a Galen Kruger Neo 212.
You got some good gear there.
It's a lot of amps.
Well, I don't necessarily have all of them at the same time, and I have access to stuff, and do stuff here and there. It's like, oh, hey, we just got these in the store. Let's try them out.
That's cool. How long you been playing bass?
I'm about 2 years in now.
Really?
I'm a very noob, yes.
So you were a guitar player before?
I was a keyboard synth player before.
Oh wow!
From my late teens, I always thought I was going to be Flock of Seagulls dude.
Right.
I was. Yeah, like I said, MIDI sampler synths. My first project was inspired by Nine Inch Nails, heavily inspired by Nine Inch Nails, and I still have my. In fact, I just resurrected it 3-4 months ago. My Ensoniq EPS 16 Plus sampler, where I wrote almost all that material.
Wow,
cool.
Like early, like Head Like a Hole kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Pretty Hate Machine was my muse. So it was only 4 or 5 years ago when I started the there's a music store that I started to work with a friend of mine who had worked for before, who is now also my partner in Pedal Genie. His name is Shep. I started the store project with him, and in the process going, well, time to get back into music. Let's play guitar. I racked up a few guitars on my wall. The ones I still have that I love are a Epiphone Wilshire Phantomatic, and I have a Fender Pawn Shop Supersonic in sparkly silver.
Ooh, now you're talking my language.
And I had the pickups, the push pull pots to split coil when I wanted, so we modded that one up a little bit. But
yeah.
I don't play guitar too much, but I did get a Hughes and Kettner Tubemeister 18 for my guitar, and then I started to build a guitar pedal board, and dicking around on guitar for a while until I was at a concert for a band that I used to love in college, and I'll add that I was a DJ on the local college radio station.
Holy mackerel, man!
This guy's been
You're like
everywhere.
unfolding. All right, who's the band? Who's the band?
So the band was called Quit, and they were popular in the early 90s. It was like a pop punk band from Miami. And about 2 years ago, I was at a reunion show for that band. And at the reunion show, I ran into a couple guys that I knew in another band at the time, who it turned out I had interviewed on my local show. That band was called The Rails. Jose from The Rails, we were talking, we're catching up. I hadn't seen him in a long time. He was telling me about his current band and how they just lost their bass player. And now at this time I did have a bass. I had a Schecter Stiletto. I didn't really know anything about it at the time, and I actually regret selling it now because I started to acquire other instruments and I got rid of that one. But I do kind of miss it. It was the only neck through bass that I had. But I didn't even know that at the time. Anyway, I had a bass, and I'm like, you know what? I can play bass. Let's do bass. And because I wanted to join a band, I was really itching to join a band. So, and boom, I was in the band as a bass player. And that's been about a year now. That band is Phineas J. Whoopi.
Wait. One more time.
Phineas J. Whoopi, like the character from the cartoon with the dog professor and the little kid with glasses.
Right.
Like I said, my pedal board is overkill for that band, but it's my platform for research, so I have to. Yeah. So that's my history as a bass player. It does take a beer or two to get me singing. I mean, I'll play all day long, but if I need to open my mouth, that takes a little help. Yeah, I sing backup on some songs, but yeah, it does definitely take some beverages for that to happen.
Well, I bet we don't need any beverages to get you to talk about Pedal Genie.
No, that's any day, all day.
All right, let's get into that, man. I'd love to know how you got into it. What was the genesis, and how that whole thing kicked off. One of the big reasons that I wanted to talk to you was I think that the information that you have as somebody who's providing pedals from, I can't remember how many
135.
135 brands. 135 brands shipping all over the place. You certainly have the finger on the pulse of what people want, what people don't want anymore. Ask you about what's going on in the world of pedals from that point of view as well. Okay.
All right. Awesome.
Cool. Hit it.
All right. So the genesis of Pedal Genie was I started up a music store with Shep. That store is called Gear Hero HQ. And in the early days of that store, we knew we were going to do a lot of work online because we kind of come from that background. One of the things I did as a software developer is make a multi-channel inventory management software so that you could sell on Amazon and eBay and website and all those things all at once, sharing inventory, et cetera, et cetera. So we had that experience together. We were getting into the musical instrument business. We wanted something that was going to differentiate our store physically from other stuff in the area, and especially online. And one of the things we started to do early on was to acquire pedal brands that weren't available elsewhere. For example, we are, and I think still, we're the only, Gear Hero HQ is the only Strymon dealer in the state of Florida. So things like that really started to bring a focus to the store. We're adding more pedals.
What year is this?
This is 4 years ago, 5 years ago,
okay.
When we started Gear Hero HQ. So at the same time, Shep is looking around the store, and Shep is a total music guy, but not a musician. But so he's looking at things like in the store, business wise, and he's staring at the guitars on the wall, going, "I wish they were making me money instead of being here on the wall." And we started talking about rental business. And while we're talking about guitar rentals, you scale that up, and it gets to be a little problematic. They're expensive to ship. They're fragile. And there aren't so many that somebody would need to try or rent. It's like, I need a guitar for a gig and I don't, or I need this particular guitar and then I don't. So as we started to think about pedals, they had everything that guitars didn't in that sense. They're relatively small. They're cheap to ship. They're made to be stepped on, so they're very rugged. And there are thousands of them. And we were essentially on the cusp of, riding this wave of new boutique, pedals coming back, I guess, after a wave of, digital or DSP processors and multi-effects units, and everything was coming back again to analog single pedal stuff. Right. So basically riding that wave and saying, hey, there are so many pedals out there. Why don't we do a rental business for pedals, but we'll do it subscription style because everybody loves recurring revenue. And at the same time, doing it that way allows us to build a bigger and broader inventory of pedals. If we did rentals traditional style, we would need 100 copies of the same pedal that everybody wanted. Oh, yeah. But instead, we can take those 100 copies and instead have 10 copies of 10 pedals instead of 100 copies of one pedal, for as a way to spread out the thing and add more and more selection. So we saw that as a great way to do that, and Pedal Genie was born.
Nice. Well, it's a good thing you didn't try to do that during the rack mount era, because that would.
Yeah, I mean, people want, it's like, why don't you have Amp Genie? And I'm like, well, because it would cost $200 to ship it to you and back.
Right. Yeah. Can you imagine the 412s? I need a full stack.
Yeah. Oh man.
And so we started with a list of 300 pedals, and 3.5 years later we're at 2,000.
That's awesome. It's incredible. For those who haven't been to the site yet, where can they go right now to check that out?
PedalGenie.com.
Pretty neat because it's all nice big pictures of pedals. And everybody likes that.
Yeah. So what? I'm assuming you have multiples of the same pedals as you're fulfilling the orders.
For sure. The most common or the most wished for pedals are the ones that we have the most of. And, I'm not ashamed to admit, out of some of those 2,000s, I don't have any copies because nobody's ever asked for one. Yeah. There's, the very end of the long tail, there's some pedals there that nobody really cares about. So I've never actually had to get one. So we use the wish list that our members create. What we do is we ask for a list of 10 pedals, at least 10. Mm-hmm. Plenty of members have 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 pedals on their wish list, but we want at least 10. That way, there's a group of 10 that we can odds work such that we have at least one of those available when it's time to ship that person the pedal.
Cool.
So that breadth of selection, we use that wish list data to say, okay, this is the most commonly wished pedal, so we're going to have more of those. This pedal nobody wants anymore, so we're going to sell it. This one's as you were alluding to earlier, there are some trends and tides and things that we followed, and some pedals follow a kind of like a new release kind of schedule where they're really popular in the beginning and then it dies off and we have to sell off some units and things like that. But yes, we totally have more copies of the more popular pedals.
Well, it's cool too because you can, when you go there and you start browsing, you're able to very easily search by brand. You could look at like Cattle and Bread and there's like, there's 11 pedals for me to choose from there. That's a good place to start. And then you can also search by type of pedal, which is cool. So it's fun just to go play around. And when I was asked at the very beginning, when I signed up, I said, put 10 pedals in your wish list. Like, okay, I'll make a Christmas list. And then as soon as that last one shipped, I was like, oh, cool. I get to go put another one back in, Right. And then you can assign priorities to them. And that's the thing that I didn't know right off the bat that I wish I did, because I was really gunning for one of two fuzz pedals that I was very interested in, and I thought that was going to arrive first because it was at the top of the list, but it wasn't. So as you're doing this, everybody, there's a little box to the right of your selection that you can put high, medium, or low in, and that helps Tony figure out, okay, which one does he really want?
Right.
Now, what you've basically hit on is a really this is a hot button issue for us. So the good news is that the next version of the website, which is currently being worked on right now, will have a drag and drop sortable wish list. So everybody's wish of why can't I order the pedals the way that I want will come true. But the same kind of leverage that the wish list creates for you also creates for us, in the sense that that pedal that you want the most, nobody else may want except one other guy, which means I have one copy, and you're going to end up waiting for it until that one comes back, even though it's your number one, and I'm going to disappoint you until that happens again. So
I think it's safe to say, though, sorry, I hate to interrupt you, but I want to point out that you had really good service right off the bat. Like the minute that, so my first pedal, there was I'm trying to remember what the issue was. There was some issue, and immediately I got a note that just said, "We're super sorry. This thing is coming at you as fast as it can." And I think it was like maybe a day behind what I was expecting, and so, but I got a note right off the bat. So I think that based on the way that I've seen those service interactions come back, that's something that people are, somewhat forgiving of. Maybe not of Amazon, but certainly of somebody like, Pedal Genie.
Yeah, it's really important to have a very quick response, and I find that helpful. And when I get a quick response from anybody, it's like, oh, they instantly answered, and something's being done. So,
yeah, it's like forgiveness in the bank.
Exactly.
All right. I like that. I mean, we've gotten pretty good reviews as far as customer service goes. I've tried to make that a top issue because that's really where most of the word of mouth comes from. People are really quick to talk bad about you, so I want to make sure that
exactly
doesn't have to be the case. But the point about the wish list that I was making is that there is kind of the interests of the customer do not necessarily align with the interest of the company. When you want a pedal that I can't support adding another copy of because you're the only one that wants it, kind of thing. So every day is a little bit of a juggling act where I go, okay, do I give this guy his first choice, or do I give it to this guy, or vice versa? Or, I really, I'd love to give you your first choice, but your second choice has been sitting here for 6 months, so I'm going to send you that one. Things like that, what you want is not necessarily what we want, and vice versa. I want to move inventory around and, get every pedal to everybody when, a bunch of the same customers want the same one pedal. But
which
if
I
enough customers,
is probably harder with the more expensive, like the super expensive pedals.
Yeah, there is some capital expenditure you've got to kind of deal with when our number one and number two of the most wish pedals. I'm sure that's something we're going to get to, but they are the Strymon Timeline and the Strymon Big Sky. Right. And those are $450 pedals.
So you've got like 20 of those then.
We do have double-digit copies of those pedals.
Wow!
So that's That's a significant investment, right? And for every Big Sky I buy for Pedal Genie, I could buy 4 other pedals. So there's 4 of these, 2 of those, 3 of something else. So yeah, it's a weighted kind of measured fulcrum that I have to deal with every day.
So Tony, in the way that you are handling this, you mentioned you've got a new website coming to make all of our lives much more fun and much easier. Is there any kind of loyalty or good stuff like that coming at us?
Well, we love members that stay with us a long time. That's for certain. The biggest thing you get is the longer you stay with Pedal Genie, the deeper the discount on the pedals that you buy. Because the formula that we use to calculate the price of a pedal that you've rented that you want to keep, one of the biggest factors in that little black box formula is how long has this person been a member. So that's a big loyalty bonus. The longer you stay, the cheaper your pedals get when you buy them. Just today, I sent a big old box of gifts to I think he's our longest continuous member, and next month he will have been a member for 3 years.
Wow.
And
that's a lot of pedals.
That's yeah, he's gone through a lot of pedals, and he's bought a fair amount of them in the process. So yeah, we take that pretty seriously. So we love long-time customers.
Okay.
Now, the other factor that does come into play, and I guess it's a little less subtle, it's certainly not something we publicize, but for any given batch of pedals, when we're processing the outgoing pedals for that day, the oldest members rise to the top. So they're essentially getting first choice of what's available as for that batch.
That makes sense. Totally.
So I had this question has been on my mind ever since I knew we were going to interview you.
All right.
You know how there's several different tube screamer brands. What is the most requested tube screamer version that you guys get?
Probably the Ibanez hardwired, the 808 hardwired, or I'm not sorry, hardwired, the hand wired, the 808 HW.
So that's kind of like, and I'm not up with
that's the $400 tube screamer that comes in an ammo case. That's what that one is.
Okay.
Holy mackerel.
People just
I don't
want to know
if
what
I've
it's
even seen
like.
that.
People just want to say, what's this compared to like the regular $60, $70? I don't even know how much that costs anymore. But
well, so that's a good segue, Jared. Why don't we get into what you've been noticing just as far as pulse goes in the pedal world? This is a one that just doesn't seem to stop growing, which I don't know of any guitar enthusiasts who are really upset about that.
No, not at all.
Maybe the builders are. I'm not really sure. But Mike was like, nah, brah. Stop, brah. So why don't you, I'm dying to know, what are these waves that you see? Walk us through some of that.
All right. I guess I've queued up a few in my brain while we've been talking. One of them that isn't really related to the sound of pedals, though, is side jacks versus top jacks. That really became like an issue for some people. And I've seen Wampler's line has all been revised to be top jacks. All Earthquaker new versions and new pedals are all top jacks. Even Rocket pedals are all top jacks. A lot of brands have just kind of gone that way. And the funniest thing happened last week, to me anyway, was we had a review for one pedal and the guy actually complained that the jacks were on the side.
Wow.
I couldn't understand that.
Not something that you can fix either.
Right. So, and I guess with the proliferation of pedals and cramming more stuff onto a board and things like that, top jacks allow you to put the pedals more closer together, and people are dig that. So that's kind of this physical trend that I've seen, especially when you see a brand revise their line to move the jacks to the top. So that's something that's been big.
Well, while you're on that topic, I think it's really, I'm interested to see if we start seeing that trend spill over into like Mammoth Electronics type of scenarios or other DIY kit builders where they start actually doing the pre-drilled holes on the top instead of on the side. That's something that on my last build with them, I was like, man, I really wish these are top mounted jacks, but okay, Anyways, back to you.
All right. Recently, I guess programmable overdrives and digital analog hybrid distortion things I've certainly gotten a lift. Source Audio has some digital distortion pedals. Strymon came out with the highly anticipated Sunset and Riverside. The Chase Audio Bliss Brothers has been super popular for us. So any kind of like presetable or at least programmable distortion, and I realize I'm lumping those all together when they're not exactly the same. Mm-hmm. The Brothers is a analog distortion with a DSP control set. The Strymons are analog preamps with digital distortion and DSP control. The Source Audios are all digital, but to my ears, they all have their uses, sound great, extremely flexible. I love the Strymon Riverside, its ability to blend from one set of parameters to the other with a expression pedal. You can go from like a light chimey overdrive to a really heavy gain distortion with your pedal. I love the idea of doing that, and that works out great. And I even have I have the Source Audio Aftershock on my pedal board, and I get some great gnarly fuzz out of that I really dig. So that's been a big thing, and I guess it's a way to kind of breathe life into overdrive and distortion. Because the last thing that I want to see when I'm like, oh, let's add this new brand to our selection, it's, oh, look, they got 4 overdrives. Yay.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Would you lump like dip switch access into that group?
Sort of. I mean, the Chase Bliss is kind of known for their little panel there. And a lot of people get a lot of, I guess, knob phobic kind of people go, oh my God, that's too much stuff. But it's really just parameters for, some of the stuff that's already on the pedal. What does the expression input do? That's what half the banks of the dip switches are for. But anything that gives you more flexibility, I am a fan of. Sometimes you're trading flexibility for usability in some people's eyes, but you can always simplify it overall. So by having those dip switches be on the back, they're not front and center. Not to say that Chase Bliss pedals aren't simple to begin with. I mean, they've got 6 knobs and 3 switches and 2 buttons already. So
yeah. Well, I mean, one of the pedals that I'm anticipating receiving from you is the Hungry Robot FZ, which has that dip switch access too, which is it's cool because it keeps the box small, but you also can like completely switch the color on what that is. It's while you were talking about having ultimate flexibility, I just want to slide this in real quick. One of the things that I think, at least, I don't know if it's just because it's me or if a lot of people do this too, but I like having some things that have tons of flexibility, and then I also like having 1 or 2 things. It's like, this is just a hammer. Like,
on or off. Huh?
Yeah, there's a pedal company called Farm Pedals, and they've got this one called Sweet Leaf, and it's just you click it and it's just a wicked fuzz, and that's all, and you can't control anything on it. It's just like and it's like there's it's almost like a knife, just like it does one thing, and it's kind of cool and powerful that way. Do you see that at all?
Yeah. I mean, for the opposite, a knob phobic person kind of likes those pedals in the first place. But yeah, there are things exactly like that. For me, we have some pedals from B-Tronics. They have a Octahive and a Walk to Hell, which is a low octave fuzz and a high octave fuzz. I think I got them backwards. Anyway, I love those. They don't do much else but that. And
they're cool to look at,
they
too.
Crush it.
Oh man,
yeah.
There's some of the best looking boxes out there.
We have them in Pedal Genie purple and blue and green, so I'm pretty proud of that. But
that's awesome.
So yeah, there's totally that, and there's one of the perennial favorites is still full tone OCD, for example. Doesn't have a ton of knobs. It's not a one-trick pony either, but it's a relatively simple pedal that's still really popular.
Right.
It is within the top 20 of our wish list pedals still.
What's your number one all time?
I pulled up the year to date all time because wish list changes over time and whatnot. But the number one right now is the Strymon Timeline, which is the first time I've seen it overtake the Big Sky, but really only by a couple. They're only a single digit apart in terms of the number of wish lists. The Big Sky is number 2 right now, and it makes a lot of sense for us because a $450 pedal is really something you want to try out before you commit to it.
Sure.
So it's kind of the basis on which Pedal Genie is built. And as I look at the rest of the top 10, they are all $300, $400, $500 pedals. So here they are in order from 10th to number 1. The Earthquaker Avalanche Run, which I'm surprised to see get so high right now. Not that it's a bad pedal, I'm just surprised. The Chase Audio Brothers at number 9. The Hologram Dream Sequence at number 8. The Empress Reverb at 7. the Eventide H9 at 6, the Empress Echo System at 5, the Chase Bliss Tonal Recall at 4, and the Hologram Infinite Jets at 2. And then, of course, the Big Sky and the Timeline. So though there's a couple pedals in there that are another trend that I've seen recently, and this is probably the result of, well, there's only so many effects, we need to do something new. So the Infinite Jets and the Dream Sequence, as well as a little further down the list, things like the Montreal Assembly Count to 5, this kind of glitch, stutter, arpeggiator, slicer kind of thing gotten pretty popular. People dig those. So I'm happy to see that too, because anything that gets into, unique sounds, anything that gets in kind of electronic music land, I kind of dig as well.
Right.
Other perennial favorites, the Pog 2 is way up there. It's still a big popular one. There's a lot of octavey things kind of in that sense. But the other EH is that I see a lot of activity on are the nines, the Mel 9, the Synth 9, the B9, the C9. Mm-hmm. And someday soon, if Electro-Harmonix is true to its form, there'll be a big box, the Max 9 or the All 9 or the 999 or something. But to tell you the truth, I'm not a huge fan of the Mel 9 except for there's a choir patch on the Mel 9 that sounds very cool. But the sounds that come out of the Synth 9 are amazing. So that's something you should get your hands on if that appeals to you at all. The Synth 9 is really, really cool.
Are we seeing fuzzes slow down at all?
Maybe. I can't say that there are any fuzzes here in the top. I'm looking at this list and I think I got to go down into the Muffaletta. It clocks in somewhere around 29. I love fuzz, but I know a lot of the guys in my store or whatnot, they're like, no, I hate fuzz. I don't use fuzz. I hate fuzz. I'm like, God, I love fuzz. If it's spitty and I love fuzz, and it's not fuzz unless you can pick up a radio station. So yeah, now not to say that there aren't new fuzz pedals. The Petty John came out with a fuzz, the Fuzz.
Yes,
that's done pretty well, and that's I think that's somewhat out of character. Maybe it's a very tameable fuzz. And we've got some really really commonly rented fuzzes like the Zevex Fuzz Factory, the Wampler Velvet Fuzz. Those are probably the two biggest I can think of right now. And then the Muffaletta that tries to be all fuzzes to all people.
Right. Hey, can I hijack? I'm going to hijack this really quick since we're talking about lists. I'm going to share my list. Should we do that?
All right. Sure.
Okay. I'm going to read my high priorities first. No, I'm just going to read down the list. It doesn't matter. Hungary Robot FZ. Okay. The TC Electronic Shaker Mini Vibrato.
I think you're the only one who wants that pedal right now.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, hey, okay. To back that up, I saw a killer demo of it, and I was like, oh man, because I really like Vibe, and I'm just waiting for a good Vibe to come out that I'm digging.
Any of the TCs with tone print, they've got that whole versatility thing going for them, so I can't knock it with that.
Yeah, and it's tiny, and I kind of like that. The TC Electronic Viscous Vibe.
Okay.
And the JHS Morning Glory version 4. And to be honest, the only reason that I want to check that out is because it's on Billy Duffy's board. And I like Billy Duffy. So there still is influence from guitar players out there.
What if each knob is on like the very first setting? It's all number 1 and it's barely there.
That's okay. If I can find that sound.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. Then we have the TC Electronic Sub and Up Octaver, the Yellow Cake Furry Burrito.
Oh, yeah.
The Walrus Audio Julia Analog Chorus Vibrato. So that's 3 vibes I've got on my wish list. I mean, still looking for that one. The Earthquaker Depths Vibe Machine. Oh, that's 4. And then the one I'm super excited about is the Death by Audio Supersonic Fuzz Gun. Ooh, that's a cool pedal.
Ooh,
I just sent one of those to somebody else today.
Yeah. So. Dang.
What kind of fuzz tone are you looking for, Todd?
I like.
What are you?
I like a range. See, that's the thing. What I've had several fuzz puddles in the past. and I want one that I can get sort of like I can switch the type of fuzz I'm getting, not just like the tone. And Fuzz Gun, and I think the Apocalypse from Death by Audio. Death by Audio makes some wicked good fuzz.
So you just want different flavors.
I want to
fuzz.
be able to go like I want it real splatty right now, or splat, yeah. Or I want tight fuzz. I want loose fuzz. Yeah. Although I like fuzz, man.
So my two recommendations there are, the Muffaletta gives you all kinds of fuzz. I don't think it gets into the extremes that some people would like. So my second recommendation is the Old Blood Noise Haunt Fuzz, which goes from wicked fuzz factory territory to much tamer, warmer stuff as well.
I think it's interesting, just since we're talking about fuzz real quick, is that when you see one of the things that kind of convinced me about both the Hungry Robot and the Death by Audio is that they didn't go, cool, here's a fuzz pedal and here's some Black Sabbath. They were more experimental. The reviews, the demos that I saw were using it in ways that I'm not playing doom rock and I'm not playing desert core, desert core. like old Caius and stuff like that. I want to use it in more modern experimental ways, and that's kind of why I was looking for like something that gives me a little bit more a variation of that wave, essentially. So yeah.
My first experiment with fuzz was not intentional. When I was like, I was 10 or 12 years old. You always laugh. I always have funny segues into my thoughts. and I enjoy making you laugh before you even get the whole thing out. Was with my dad's JVC tape deck. I didn't have any money. I couldn't buy guitar effects, so I wanted to record something, so I plugged my electric guitar into that JVC tape deck. And then I ran the output to the PA, and you turn the gain or you turn the input level all the way up, and you get this fuzz, man. That's the first fuzz I ever got. That's like
hilarious.
The only distortion that I had for many years because I didn't have a job. I was 11, 12 years old.
How crazy.
No, it does. It does sound beautiful though. The designer for my guitar pedals, he. One day, we were sitting down there. This is when we were working on the Heatwave. He was like, dude, I found the perfect sound that you need to put with the Heatwave. And I was like, what? And so he brings over his tape recorder.
He did it. Yep.
And this guy just comes up. He just comes up with crazy, stupid ideas, But they're really awesome. No, they're really awesome ideas. Anyways, he plugs us in. He was like, dude, check this out. He was trying to make a tape delay. He was trying to do a tape delay kind of thing. And then ends up plugging, like you were saying.
Right, you plug it in one of the mic jack. There's a left and a right mic thing.
Yeah, and the gain, and it just sounded really sweet, though.
Yeah.
This had a really nice fine dirt sound to it.
Yeah.
So I'm on your side, Jared.
Well,
I got your back.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I've watched a lot of Rolling Stones documentaries, but I think it was I Can't Get No Satisfaction. That was originally done by running his guitar through, an early tape recorder.
Yeah, I heard that before.
Yeah. So
I thought it was a broken speaker.
that was the Kinks.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, cutting the razor slices in the speakers. Yeah.
They're probably expensive, pre-Rollas now that are worth $500
Garbage.
Well, cool, man. Golly, I love talking about pedals and junk. Woo, we've been talking about it for a long time. Let's get to the Would You Rather section.
Would you rather?
Jared, what do you got?
Okay, guys. Would you rather? It's very simple. Would you rather have on your guitar or bass? Would you rather have the side jack on the side of the body, or would you rather have the front jack on the front of the body, the face of the body of the guitar?
Okay, that's an interesting one. Okay, Mike, jump in there.
For me, I think it really depends on.
It's not a depends.
What kind of guitar cable am I using?
Oh, yeah.
Right angle or straight plug, yes.
You always use a right angle, period.
Not if you have a Strat.
Yeah, well, that's another problem.
Don't use
Yeah.
Strat.
Let's take.
Sarah, I set you up for that one.
Some back information for you, Tony. I'm literally the only like Strat lover in here.
No, I love them too. I love them
these
too.
guys give me
I got a
beef.
bunch of them.
Well, if I'm using a 90-degree angle instrument cable,
Right.
I like the front. I have no issue. I have no issue. I have the Fender Duosonic, which has for the past 8 months, I've been using it every single week, and I enjoy the front.
Yeah.
I mean, I can manage the cable. You know, if I have to unplug it, plug it. You know, I don't have to do that thing where you kind of like have to search.
Yeah.
Do the whole search thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean your guitar tech doesn't do that for you?
I mean, after I fired him, no.
All right. Duzik, what do you got?
Now, speaking as a pickguard maker,
Uh-huh.
I love front mount jacks.
Yes.
Okay.
Because half of the guards that I have to make are because someone stepped on a cable with a non-right angle jack and busted out that
Right.
section of the pickguard.
Easy
Yeah.
business.
Yeah. But my personal preference, I mean, I could go either way. I think as long as you have a right angle jack on the end of your cable, either way is fine. It's a clean look, especially if it's on the side of the instrument. So I'm going to go with the side because of the look. But I'll go with the top just for business.
Wait, so which one is that?
He's going with the top, man. He's got to feed his family.
All right, fine. Jared, what do you got?
Okay, so my favorite guitar is probably the Gibson SG, and
No, it is the Gibson FG. You got
it
six
is.
of them.
I know, and I have old vintage ones
Including
that are
basses.
and newer ones and cool ones and blah blah blah. However, I think in my personal opinion, the side jack is, I think, the most sturdy and the best in the, as far as a utility and playing out, because if you have, like, take the SG for instance, and it doesn't matter what a right angle or a straight, if that SG's on a guitar stand, or it's not in a case, and that cord is left in that jack, if you trip over that cord, you can bust the whole face of that SG. So it's kind of, you got to be real careful with front end, like with the pickguard deal. So side jacks are the most sturdy in my opinion. I'm going to go with the side.
All right, Tony.
I am solidly side jack pro. Although, as I mentioned, my number one has a Strat style jack on the front. So,
You
but
can
I
cover
totally
that up with a
prefer
sticker
side
and put a
jack
different one in.
for all the reasons aforementioned. Aesthetically, it's out of the way. It's easy to wrap around your strap and stuff like that. So, but yeah, side jack for me.
Yeah, 100%. I'm side jack too because the guitar cable must go in through the strap loop, and that's the end of the story. There is no other alternative. That's the way you do it.
Mine goes to the strap loop.
Hey, I like Strats. I love Stratocasters as well, buddy. I just want to give some Strats love to you. Blah, 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 blah.
Strat love.
I don't even know what that is.
Can't talk.
Okay, everybody. It is late. We are getting hangry. We got to go get some Mikey's
Pizza.
Late Night Slice Pizza. No money for that.
Yes.
We just like it.
We love Mikey's.
Thanks,
And
Mikey.
I want to give a humongous thank you to Tony for joining us on this episode. It was super fun talking about one of my favorite things in the whole wide world, pedals. And everybody out there, Tony, why don't you tell them one more time where to go?
PedalGenie.com.
PedalGenie.com. And
Exactly like it sounds. So what we're doing for listeners of your show is we have added a coupon code for the purchase of used pedals that are on our site. A few words about the used pedals. While they are used, we do include the original box and anything that came with it because we don't send that out on rental. So you're getting that all pristine. They've all been checked to be functional because we don't rent unfunctional pedals. And they're all obviously a tremendous value already as they're priced on the site. But the coupon code Guitar Knobs gives you an additional 12% off of the already low used price that's there on the site.
Woohoo.
That's awesome. I like that.
Nice.
Can I use that code?
You certainly can.
Okay. Don't tell my wife that. Yeah. Cool, man.
And I chose 12% because 10% is lame, so it just needed to be more than that.
I like that. More than 10 is good. Is that Guitar Knobs one word or two words?
Guitar Knobs, one word.
Guitar Knobs, one word, no spaces. And go get yourself some pedals, everybody. So, yes, Tony, thank you so much for taking the time. It was super fun. We'd love to talk to you again and maybe check in at a later date and find out what is trending again in pedals and see where things are going.
For sure.
I'm probably gonna put a blog post out featuring that list, so that anybody that caught this and maybe forgot about what's going on just as far as trending, I think that'd be kind of interesting to see. So I think I'll probably do that for everybody.
All right. Cool.
As well as your Four on the Floor. So if anybody hasn't been seeing the Four on the Floor blogs, make sure you go to the website, theguitarknobs.com, or look for us in the social feeds in which we feature the Four on the Floor blog. That's a mouthful for me to say. And we're gonna give links to where you can get those pedals as well. It's worth mentioning, Tony, are any of those that you mentioned available on your site?
The Four on the Floor pedals of mine are all available from Pedal Genie.
Excellent. That worked out great, so I didn't have to edit that. Okay, so we just have a couple more thank yous real quick. I want to say a big, humongous thank you to David Wolfson, who just joined our Patreon executive producers team,
Thank you, David.
well.
Nice.
Yay!
Thank you.
As well as Martin Cliff and Tom Barazin. Thank you guys so much, and we want to extend that opportunity to everybody else out there. If you would like to become an executive producer, head on over to patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs to find out how. And with that, I bid you all a very good subscribe.
Yeah.
The first five
Guitar knob.
the first five
I'll have a
orders
code.
that reference just say the Guitar Knobs.
I will put a code on my website.
Yeah, or you could just have them say the Guitar Knobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Facebook, Tony. Tony here.
Damn it.
I've got new.
Okay, hang
I've got
on.
new.
All right.
We're really not this terrible.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, Four on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.